let's talk about the big myth in the air. Do tracking open rates actually affect deliverability? Now, before we do that, I want to quickly explain how open rate tracking actually works. Now, let's just say we have a campaign over here. This is a campaign, and I've gone to my settings, right? And I've gone ahead and said, yep, I want to basically not track email opens, right? You have the option to do that in SmartLead. Now, in the situation you don't do this, what happens is our system injects a tiny snippet of a very small image that is actually not visible. It's a 1 by 1 pixel image. It's not visible into the HTML of the email being sent out. So two things happen over here. When the other person, when the lead receives this email and they open that email, a message is sent out to our server saying, hey, can you load this image? And that is the trigger that effectively lets our server know that this email has been opened. So all good, right? Now, what's the difference and what's actually happened? Now, the difference has come in due to good old friend Apple. And I'll quickly explain over here using an image shared by Postmark. Now, what usually used to happen is when that image was loaded, when that email was opened, that would send a message to our server, and our server then would just track that as an email being opened. Apple introduced something called Apple Mail Privacy Protection. And do note, a large percentage of the overall internet's traffic, email traffic, actually sits on Apple's servers. What Apple servers do is they act as an intermediary between, let's say, myself, who's sending the email, right, and the lead. Maybe let's just say that's you, right? Myself being SmartLead as the person sending it. So when the email is sent out by me from my system, from SmartLead, or any other tool in the market that is an email service provider, it is then received by an intermediary software, right, or intermediary server that listens to that and actually opens the email on your behalf, right? You have not even opened it yet. And it acts as a gate between whatever you do on that side. You might click on a link, you might open it and close it 1,000 times. But all that, this part over here, that is completely handled and almost masked by Apple's proxy server. It's an intermediary server. So me over here, who's trying to receive that data, then get a different set of information than what I would normally get from here all the way to here. So a lot of email service providers, whatever they are in the market, are all experiencing the same thing, and there's different ways of resolving it. We've come up with a pattern that helps us understand what is an Apple proxy server and what is not, and every one of these email tools in the market have their own way of doing this. So the big question, should you be tracking open rates? And if not, what should you be doing? In general, when you say you want to track open rates, we are injecting a link, an image. And the general consensus from what we've seen as patterns is the more links you add to a cold email, the less likely it is to be delivered to that primary mailbox. Because the principle is email service providers like Google, Zoho, Yahoo, Outlook, whatever, think of links as quote unquote spammable, right? Which means they are most likely not high profile or high value emails that contain a lot of links. So it increases the likelihood of your emails landing in spam the more links that you add. So that's step one, is removing that option for you. So if you remove the concept of a link that is added in your email, that increases the deliverability. Now, the second thing to mention in overall deliverability, if you actually want to track it, which is absolutely fair for you to do, by the way, because we also track our open rates. It's a great way to measure if your emails are landing in spam, but you can use a warm-up system to fix that for you, is you actually can go ahead and do, let's just click on an email account over here. And in that email account, you actually have this thing called custom domain tracking. What custom domain tracking does is, instead of actually injecting, you know how I gave that image example, instead of acting SmartLead's image, it's not going to show actually SmartLead's image link, but it's going to show another domains link, whatever that might be. And that acts as like a proxy the same way. So the email service providers like Google, Yahoo, Outlook, Zoho, they don't actually know that the email is coming from us. Instead, they think the email or that image that is inside is just one of your images, which is a natural experience. However, like I said, if you can avoid it, do avoid it, but most people do go ahead for it, and that's fine. What you need to focus on in the end, categorically, is reply rates. Because guess what? If you don't get replies, you don't get revenue. If you don't get revenue, you probably should want to go ahead and retweak your cold emails to ensure that you do. Because the whole concept depends upon you getting responses to then book demos and then close sales. So I hope that helps, and I'll see you again in the next video.